Recognizing the member for Port Moody-Burquitlam.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. COVID-19 has changed our lives, how we work, how we learn, how we socialize, how we do business. And all around the world, we know that economic activity has been significantly impacted. Global supply chains have been disrupted, and millions of people have lost their jobs. And when we take a look at what kind of people were affected the most, we see Indigenous people, we see new Canadians, we see women, we see young adults, we see people earning less than $30 an hour, we see service sector workers. So early on in this pandemic, I'd like to take a bit of a step back to see how our government responded when things were looking the most dire. The BC government took swift action and put a $5 billion COVID-19 action plan in place to help those most affected. We offered a $1,000 one-time emergency benefit to help those that were unable to work because of the outbreak, which supplemented the federal CERB benefit. And about 85% of British Columbians also received enhanced BC Climate Action tax credits, totaling an average of over $500. Renters received a temporary rent reduction. There was a moratorium on most rental evictions and a freeze on annual rent increases. ICBC customers who were facing financial challenges were allowed to defer insurance payments for up to 3 months. And of course, insurance rates later were reduced by an average of 20%. And because ICBC is publicly owned, the claims dropped during the period of COVID. The savings were passed on to customers in the form of 2 rebates totaling an average of over $300. BC Hydro customers who lost income were eligible to receive a 3-month credit as well, averaging over $500. The BC government was there to help people get through the most challenging early days of this pandemic. We also supported small businesses by reducing property tax bills for commercial businesses by an average of 25%, and extended tax collection due dates by several months. Businesses were also permitted to defer their employer health tax payments, and deferrals were also extended to PST payments, hotel tax, carbon tax, and motor vehicle fuel tax. And we set up a BC Business COVID-19 support service as a single point of contact for businesses looking for information. So there we were early in the pandemic, taking quick action to help the most vulnerable people and businesses. But at that time, if you remember, no one knew how long this was going to last. We still don't know. But we didn't know when the vaccines were coming. There was a lot of uncertainty, and it was at that time that the government embarked on a comprehensive engagement process about economic recovery. The Premier and the Finance Minister led roundtable discussions with businesses, Indigenous people, academics, economists, student groups, social service providers, and environmental groups, and many more to gather ideas on the path forward. And this conversation was framed around restoring consumer confidence, accelerating job creation, and supporting job security. In the end, tens of thousands of people engaged in this process. What emerged from this engagement is a roadmap for economic resiliency. When people were asked how they can ensure that we come out of COVID-19 stronger, the top answer is a greener, more innovative economy. And even in the short term, when asked about the year ahead, climate change was chosen as one of the most important issues, higher than even healthcare and the price of real estate. And climate change was rated even higher by those 29 and younger. This quote from the online questionnaire summarizes the sentiment. This is our time to create an inclusive, just, and sustainable society. Please consider taking this opportunity and be remembered as the government who took action. I'm terrified of the future due to climate change risks, and I want to feel like my government is responding adequately. I'm tired of writing letters, attending protests, just to ask for a future I can depend on and feel good about. feel good about bringing my kids into. Let's come out of COVID-19 better. Regardless of whether input came from roundtables or online surveys or written submissions, a strong theme emerged around taking strong action on climate change, and that being a central bedrock of economic resiliency. As important as it is to engage with people, it's equally important to look at where we're at. And we can do this with the labor force survey. The latest one in August shows that BC had the lowest unemployment rate in the country and the only province in the entire country that has employment rates above pre-pandemic levels for the third straight month. And the job recovery rate was the highest in Prince George at 108%, followed by the Cariboo and Thompson Okanagan at over 105%. BC made more investments per capita for people and businesses than any other province in the country, and the results showed in this labor survey. In order to have a resilient economy, you need to have a government that listens to people, a government that takes decisive action to help people and businesses when times are at their worst, a government that embraces innovation and clean technology and understands that the future is something we can all be excited about. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.